On June 8, 1984, 17-year-old student Melanie Road went on a night out at the Beau Nash nightclub on Kingston Road in Bath, Somerset, England. As she was walking home from the Beau Nash nightclub on the early hours of the morning on June 9, 1984, she was attacked viciously by an unknown assailant who sexually assaulted her and stabbed her multiple times in the chest and back. At 5:30 a.m. on June 9, her mutilated body is discovered by a milkman and his 10-year-old son in the Lansdowne area of the city. Police trace her family after a loudhailer alert when they discover a keyring with the name Melanie near the body. Through 1984 to 1989, police hunt for the teenager's killer through the Melanie Road murder inquiry codenamed Operation Rhodium. Tests from the crime scene give police a blood type with proteins which match just 3% of the population. 94 people are arrested but none are charged with the murder. In the year 2000, a DNA review produced a more detailed profile of the killer. Police then started looking at familial DNA matches. They looked people on the national database who partially match, which suggests they are related to the killer. There is still no match.
We are hoping for success on another case that's remained unsolved for decades. The rape and murder of a teenager, 17-year-old Melanie Road. For a quarter of a century, Melanie's family have had to live with the knowledge that her killer has never been caught. Can you bring them some comfort by naming him tonight?
She had so many friends. She was taking her A-levels. The world was her oyster.
She wanted to go to university, of which she'd applied to quite a number. She was never sad. She was always very happy here and always had lots of friends, and I don't think I ever saw her sad.
She had her life ahead of her. She had so much to live for. My life was opening up for her. We went down to Bath and we went to the travel agents. She had a Greek boyfriend and she wanted to travel with him. I'm sure we bought a plant for Mum and Dad. Dropped her off by the hotel. Now kissing me on the cheek. And that was the last time I saw her.
It was June the 8th, 1984, the last day of the Bath Festival. Thousands of people were starting to leave the city. School kids had just finished their exams and were planning their future, just like 17-year-old Melanie Road. But this day would be the last day of her life.
My Greek. Calamari.
Calamera. What's the problem, man?
What's your problem? You still...
Oh,
Come on, let's go.
I want a burger.
You always want a burger.
Come on, let's get
See you later.
Are you sure you don't want me to get you a taxi?
Oh no, honestly, I'll be fine.
You sure?
Yeah, promise. All right. See you later.
Melanie said goodbye to her friends at this crossroads. They headed this way along Pulteney Bridge. Melanie headed this way along Bridge Street towards her home. It was the last time that Melanie Road was definitely seen alive.
Melanie had less than a mile to walk to get home. It was a journey she had made countless times before, so most likely she took her usual route. Up Broad Street, up the hill along Lansdowne Road. Right at the old farmhouse pub onto St Stephen's Road. Melanie was now very nearly home.
My son Ian went up to a house on the left-hand side, and after he delivered the milk, he shouted out to me.
Dad, there's a woman lying on the ground over there.
Because of the colour of the skin, being very pale, I thought it was a dummy from a shop window, which sort of gave me a bit of relief for a few seconds. Then as I got closer, I realised it wasn't, and as a young girl, felt for the side of her neck for a pulse, was no pulse, and the body was stone cold. As it was somebody I did know, which was one of my customers' daughters, Melanie.
I flew down to Bath, and I didn't believe it until I saw all the police everywhere and realised that it really was true. And then the next 2 weeks we just spent crying the whole time.
It was my little sister. I should have taken care of her.
Melanie's murder kicked off a massive police investigation. We made 6,000 separate inquiries and arrested 94 men.
25 years later, and Melanie's killer is still out there. This case remains open. Now we have brand new evidence. DNA left at the scene. We believe it belongs to the killer. Now we need your help to find him.
1984, Bath, a city with a transient population. Do you know a man here that summer who could have done this? Someone who appeared with unexplained injuries or left the city suddenly.
You might be worried about putting an innocent man in the frame. Don't be. The DNA belongs to one person only. So give us a name and let the science tell us if it's Melanie's murderer.
I still have nights where I'm going all it over in my mind. As I say, if it's like that for me, what can it be like for the family?
Just like a space, an empty hole. She should be here. She should be here with us.
Melanie's still with me because she's my guardian angel and she's always there, giving me guidance. Over the last 25 years, it's been a living nightmare to know that someone is out there that killed my sister. This person took Melanie away from me.
I just want to know why and who, and for somebody to be caught. Melanie's at rest, but they could do it again. I don't want anybody else to go through this.
As a family devastated, I'm joined now by DCI Mike Carter, who is heading up the inquiry. Thanks for taking time to talk to us. It's 25 years on, but the emotions are still red raw for that family, not surprisingly. You think you can solve this tonight?
Yes, we do, Kirsty. Very hopeful. We have new technology. The advances have actually given us a full DNA profile of Melanie's killer. And it should be easy
for us to identify who it is.
Now, Melanie was raped and then she was murdered. What can you tell us? What does that tell us, indeed, about the man who killed her?
Well, this was a very brutal attack, and that would suggest to us that the person who did it probably would have exhibited similar behaviour before. It would have escalated to this. So maybe domestic violence, other less serious assaults.
So who is it you're appealing to tonight, then?
Well, Bath is a transient population, as was said in the film, and
Yeah.
you know, there were a lot of people coming and going at that time of year. So it might not be someone locally. So, you know, any wives, girlfriends, partners, anybody who this person may have spoken to and given a clue, anyone you may suspect, you know, please give us a name, because we will be able to eliminate people if you're not sure.
Yeah, that is the crucial aspect here. As Mike said, because he's got the killer's DNA, men can easily be eliminated. So if you had suspicions around about the time, but you didn't call the police, now is the time to do it. If you think you can help, please pick up the phone. Do it for Melanie's family. Our number is 0500 600 600.
In November 2014, unknown to the cold case detectives, a woman from Bath receives a caution for criminal damage after police are called when she has an argument with her partner and breaks his necklace. Her DNA is routinely taken and added to the national database. In 2015, police obtain a rerun of the familial check on the national DNA database to include people added since the previous one in 2010, about 1 million people. Results come back with a familial match to the woman from Bath who broke her partner's necklace. Research by police revealed she had brothers and a father, who also had lived in Bath. She provides a phone number for her father. Her father, Christopher Hampton, provides a voluntary DNA swab to police in a car park at a commercial building where he was working in Bristol on the 1st of June 2015. On the 2nd of July 2015, results came back from testing Christopher Hampton's DNA and it matched the DNA recovered from the crime scene of Melanie Road. He is arrested the same day but made no comment to the questions and denied rape and murder in a statement read out by his solicitor. On the 4th of July 2015, Hampton is charged with murdering Melanie. Christopher Hampton led a normal life with his children until a familial DNA match finally solved the 32-year-old mystery.
When detectives arrived in the early hours of a June morning in 1984, they had no idea who the teenage murder victim was. A wooden key fob saying Melanie was the only clue about the girl who'd been stabbed to death. So police drove around the streets with a loudhailer calling her name. Soon the parents of 17-year-old Melanie Road were alerted in their home, and their lives changed forever. Melanie was deputy head girl at Bath High School, a straight-A student. She planned to be an archaeologist. When detectives started the hunt for her killer, they had no idea how long and tortuous the inquiry would be. Detectives analysed the trail of blood the killer left as he fled the scene. It was rare, just 3% of men had this blood type. What followed was one of the country's largest manhunts. Who was the killer with the rare blood type?
Detectives hunting the killer of Bath schoolgirl Melanie Road today staged a reconstruction of her last walk home.
Melanie was last seen alive walking along the Pulteney Bridge at 2 o'clock in the morning last Saturday. She told her friends she would be walking home alone.
Well, now they're planning a big poster campaign and even playing taped messages to cinema audiences in the city in an effort to track down the murderer.
While these teams looked in vain for a weapon, others scoured the city for the murderer. This became one of the biggest manhunts in Britain at the time. In fact, the inquiry spread around the world.
We've located people who were in Bath on the night of the murder who come from as far as Japan, Australia, America, the continent, and Scandinavia.
But the days were turning to weeks, and they were turning to months. 94 men were arrested, but none was charged. It seemed the killer of Melanie Road had just disappeared. It would be more than 3 decades before justice was served on the murderer.
On May 19, 2016, Christopher Hampton pled guilty to murder. He was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Melanie Road.
Christopher Hampton gave no explanation, no account of his sadistic killing. Today in court he said just one word: guilty. It was he who fatally stabbed and sexually assaulted 17-year-old Melanie Road in 1984. He was the killer of the A-level student who detectives had spent 32 years trying to find.
Although Hampton has now admitted to murdering Melanie, he has spent more than 30 years living a lie, able to conceal his dark secret from all those around him.
This police video released today showed the aftermath of the attack. Melanie put up a fight, it seems. Hampton was himself stabbed. He left a trail of blood. Detectives preserved his DNA from the scene. But DNA techniques weren't around back then. They tried other methods, police reconstructions, showing Melanie's final movements after a night out, leaving a club, saying goodbye to her friends, walking home alone. The investigation continued for 30 years. Then Hampton's daughter was arrested and cautioned for an offence in 2014. A swab was taken. It linked the murder DNA to her father. In court, Christopher Hampton showed no emotion in the 90-minute-long hearing. No emotion as the gruesome details of the murder of Melanie Road were read out. No emotion as the judge was told that Hampton kept this a secret from his wife and children for more than 30 years. No emotion as Melanie Road's mother and brother and sister read out heartbreaking victim impact statements. Melanie's brother Adrian told the court, "I've spent the last 32 years worrying about every man that ever walked down the street, asking myself, did you kill our little sister Melanie?" And her mother, Jean, said, "We put on a brave face for the outside world, but once asleep, I hoped I would never wake up so that I could be with Melanie and comfort her." Hampton's own barrister described him as an ordinary, unexceptional man. As he was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum tariff of 22 years, the judge told Hampton, "You will probably die in prison." This murder mystery is solved, but the enduring pain of Melanie Road's loss continues for her family.